Hello, everyone. I hope that you're doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha, and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you're listening, subscribing, and commenting. I really appreciate the support. In this one, I wanted to speak to you about action versus anxiety. I've actually been talking to my mom about this a lot. Talking to my mom about this a lot because she's an extremely anxious person. When I say extremely, I mean extremely on the extreme end. I used to think I was anxious, but she's obviously much more so. Maybe I learned my anxiety from her. I'm sure I did, or I got it from her somehow, but partly. But I noticed that a lot of times what she does when she's feeling anxious is that she just sits there and like the TV's on or like the radio's on or whatever, something's going on in the background, there's some noise, background noise, but she'll just sit there and ruminate on the source of her anxiety for hours on end, like 4 to 6 hours a day, sometimes 8. She won't be able to go to sleep. She won't be able to stay asleep if she falls asleep. She'll wake up early in the morning and then start the whole cycle again. And, a lot of times when I speak to her about it, because she'll come to me after, sometimes she comes to me, sometimes she just sits there and ruminates. Or sometimes I'll ask her, what's going on, because I can tell. And, she'll tell me the problem. And a lot of times I'm just sitting there thinking, it's a very easy problem to solve. What are you anxious about exactly? And she's like, but this and that, and this might happen, and I don't know what might. And then obviously, the tirade goes on and on. But then, I'll be sitting there. Maybe it's just because I'm an objective observer, but I'll be looking at her. I'm like, you can just kind of take this particular action, and then it's over. Like you just move towards this particular goal, and it's fine. Now, of course, obviously, anxiety doesn't really work that way. Anxiety, the reason why we are anxious is because we're going into scenarios like worst case scenarios, or we're kind of making a big deal out of nothing, or we're making up all of these scenes or situations in our heads that are bigger than what we can handle, or we imagine that they're bigger than what we can handle, right? And it's a story that we're telling ourselves. It's a mental game that we're playing with ourselves in order to make ourselves suffer, in order to torture ourselves. Not consciously, but subconsciously perhaps, or consciously sometimes. We perhaps think that we need to suffer, or God has put us here to suffer. A lot of religions particularly tell us this, and I don't know why God would do that if he's a beneficial, not a beneficial, if he is a kind being. Like, I don't know why he would put us on this planet so we can just suffer, unless he wants us to learn something. But in general, what I imagine is that we're doing this to ourselves, right? And I found for myself one of the main ways I beat my anxiety, because I'm not saying I'm over it. I'm not saying I'm the completely zen human being. Of course not. Oh my God, no. So I have a lot of anxiety still, but what I do is that I don't ruminate anymore on that anxiety, right? And I have a very good technique for it, and that's the technique I'm sharing with you. It's basically action. Take action on something that you can do particularly right now in order to alleviate your anxiety. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, well, I was hoping for a bigger response from you or a bigger solution, but this seems so ridiculous. Well, actually, no. Because you'll notice that the whole problem with anxiety is the rumination, an endless rumination, but no action, right? You're just sitting there worrying about things that might happen in the future, which will not happen. I've done a video on this in the past, that you sit there and worry, 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 and nothing comes to fruition. It doesn't even happen. So you wasted all that time worrying, so obviously it's a waste. But the main point of ruminating our anxiety is that we're just sitting there doing nothing, worrying about something in the future or in the present, right? The point of my video, or like what I'm trying to say, is that if you just kind of switched it a bit and started doing something, anything, could be anything really. I mean, a lot of times what people do in order to stop their anxiety in its tracks is they go work out, right? They do something physical, or they'll go dancing, or they'll go drinking, which is, I don't know if that's a good idea, but at least they're doing something different. Or they'll go for a walk in nature, or they'll play with their puppy, or they'll start reading a book. They'll try to switch their psychology or physiology by doing something different. Great idea. But then what happens is that, you do all that stuff and you come back and you're still in the same spot. You just start ruminating as if nothing changed, because you haven't actually taken care of the source of your anxiety. Right. I'll give you a quick example about something that happened in my life so you can kind of get an idea of what it's all about. So I have a website, if you might know. It's called themillionairehippie.com. and it's about spirituality and abundance. And I've noticed recently that the bounce rates, basically bounce rates are when people come to your website and then they just kind of leave right away without even checking it out. It's called a bounce rate. The bounce rate is extremely high. Now, normally it's supposed to be, or it's good if it's below 60%. So 60% of people, or even less than that. But for me, I'll be happy if it's 60%. Actually, right now I'm at 80 something percent, and it's very high. Most people are coming to my website and just bouncing off without even looking at it. And so, of course, what I first did was I sat there and worried about it, thinking, oh my God, I'm a terrible writer, and oh, everyone hates my writing, and why do I even bother? You know, I'm just going to shut the whole thing down. I'm going to get rid of it. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time, and you know, all that. You know, I went through the whole dramatic situation in my head. And then, of course, I was like, all right, boom, I don't really have time for this. I actually talk to myself like this. I'm like, boom, I don't have time for this. I have to go do some work. If you're going to do this, then let's figure out a solution, right? Let's figure out what we can do. And so that's what I did. I went online. I searched, okay, what can I do to reduce bounce rates? I found some SEO stats and things like that. And I was like, oh, it's pretty easy. I can just do these 5 things, add them into my schedule. So I did. I added them into my schedule, do this once a week, do that twice a week, whatever. And that's it. And over time, you know, I know what the bounce rate is right now, and over time I'll be able to reduce it. And if it doesn't reduce, then I'll go look into it again. But just the fact that I was able to take some action, like really legitimate, solid action steps, all of a sudden my anxiety is gone. I'm not even thinking about the bounce rate anymore because I know I'm doing something about it, right? It's already in my schedule. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get stuff done. I'm going to move forward. I don't have to worry about it. Unless it's still the same situation in 6 months, then I'll look into it again. But probably considering that I'm actually working on it, it's not going to be. And so that gives solace to my heart. It gives peace to my heart, to my mind. I feel better about the situation already. But I didn't actually even do anything yet. Do you know what I'm saying? I haven't actually taken the steps yet. All I did was figure out what steps I need to take and then put it into my schedule. Because I know I'm going to do it eventually. But just that little bit of thing where I realize, okay, what action can I take to alleviate this anxiety, this particular source of anxiety, and then just putting that into my schedule already gave me so much peace, right? And so for you, probably it's pretty similar. Like a lot of times, things that are causing us anxiety require a quick conversation. If someone is causing us anxiety, all we have to do is call that person and say, I don't like what you're doing. Please stop doing that. It gives me anxiety. Or if it's related to a job situation, it's related to a dating situation, whatever. All we need to do is take certain actions, a certain piece of action, a certain particular action, a particular thing that will alleviate that anxiety because it will move us a little bit closer to where we want to be rather than where we are right now, right? And so it's as easy as that, really, in a lot of cases. I'm not saying that 100% of the cases is like this. Of course, if the source of anxiety is something like a death of a loved one or some grief issues or things like that, then obviously there's some other techniques you're going to have to use. But in a lot of cases, our anxieties are related to random, mundane things that are going on in our lives that we just rehash in our minds over and over again, wasting our life, wasting our time, wasting our mental space, and everything else related to it. So in order to alleviate, as I said, take action. Take any action, really, related to that particular source of anxiety. Anything will help. Making a phone call, doing journaling about it also maybe will help as well. But particular actions related to the anxiety is ideal, absolutely ideal, because it will move you forward and move you away from that anxiety very rapidly, actually, really quickly. So that's what I wanted to share with you in this video. If you have some questions about this, then obviously let me know. But if you think that there's something else that you can add to it that will help people with anxiety, please let us know as well, because we're always all searching for ways to alleviate our anxiety and become more and more balanced. So please share in the comments below. We're always looking forward to hearing from you. I'm always looking forward to hearing from you. And again, thank you so much for being on my channel. I shall see you the next time around. Bye for now.